And can you try emailing it to Joanna?
I did.
Emailed it.
I just did.
I emailed it twice. Okay.
Yeah, I just sent it. Bear with us all. We're getting there. Let's see. I wonder why she's having a hard time getting in.
Yeah, I don't know. Do we want to share a little bit about our own experiences with? Oh,
Yes.
is she here?
Yep.
Okay. Yay!
There she is. Hi. Oh, you're on mute, Joanna.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yay! She's here.
How are you? I'm sorry about that. I had to get on
No,
my
that's
phone.
okay.
It
That's
wouldn't let me
okay.
on the computer.
It's weird. We were all having some issues getting in, so not an issue, not a problem. So just super quick introduction. Welcome everybody. Happy Sunday. Thank you for joining us and taking time out of your evening or night. We have had Joanna speak with us before about hormone health, and today she's going to focus on gut health. Between Anne, Corinne, and myself, we have all worked with Joanna. She is a huge, huge part of our lifestyle, our health, in terms of hormones and gut. And I know all of us have done or are doing the gut protocol with her, and it is life-changing to say the least. So we thought it would be really, really helpful to have her share just a little bit of all the amazing knowledge that she has. That way everybody understands how important our gut health is to our overall journey. So I'm going to pass it over to Joanna, and she will get going.
Well, thank you again, and I apologize for being late. Just computer issues. I was trying to do it from home, but I should just know better. Well, most of you guys that are on that I can see, I see there's a bunch of other ones. I do know a lot of you and love working with you guys. But, like Natasha said, for those that don't know me, I am a licensed nutritionist. I've been working with Hormone Logics for 11 years. One of the biggest things, obviously, even outside of the fitness and competitive world, women in general, we just have a lot of moving parts. And those moving parts have a lot of overlapping symptoms. So, getting into the world of hormones, you can go through all of the process in getting your hormones properly fixed and balanced, but there's always this one missing part, and it was the gut. So over the last 6 years, we've really focused on bringing gut into our practice for women that don't realize how important the gut is for other hormones. That's where a lot of them are made. I always say that, 80% of our serotonin's made in our gut. So if our gut's not healthy, our brain's not healthy. Um, so, I'd love to kind of know where you guys are with things. I mean, I don't know. Last time we talked, I kind of opened up the floor and had some questions. You already emailed to me. I didn't really get any emails yet of questions. So I would love to answer some stuff rather than just kind of going through everything. If that's okay with you, Natasha or Anne.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. Just so you kind of know what people's main driving causes of being on this call are. I think I'll just kind of start with some ones that I think might be, just based on my own experience and my own gut issues too, is one, addressing bloating, because I think we're just kind of programmed to think that bloating is normal. So just talking about like bloating, things that cause or exacerbate our gut issues as women, what causes them in the first place, and probably 3, how our gut health is related to our hormone health.
Okay. All right. And I saw your message, Sky, too. So most people, when they come to me, she said, I'm newbie here. I know close to nothing. So close to zero on it. And, honestly, when women do come to me, we really do know close to nothing, including myself. Unfortunately, the general medicine world isn't big on allowing us to dig deep. How many of you guys have gone to the doctor and said, I just don't feel good. I'm tired. My hair's falling out. I'm super bloated. My cycle's a little irregular. And the answers we get are, well, you can go on birth control. Well, that's not really telling me anything. Or, as you get a little bit older, this is what happens. It's part of the natural process. Well, that's not a good answer either. Or, there's really nothing else. Your labs look fine. You're well within range, the 1 or 2 labs that they run. So for those of you, I saw another one just comment that they don't even know what we do. So at Hormone Logics, we, just to kind of give you guys some background that doesn't know, we've been around for almost 17 years. We work with patients all across the country. Hormone specialty with women outside the competitive world, lifestyle world as well. Lack of knowledge for hormones is huge. So, but as women, we have to go to multiple different doctors to maybe get some answers. So we're partners with LabCorp. We run a very extensive set of labs. Once the labs get back to us, we will make sure that you are educated in your labs. The labs are our blueprint of what's going on. So we read labs, go through it. I am an advocate. You can ask Dan. I am huge on education. The more I can educate you, the better of an advocate you could be for yourself when you have to go back to those doctors and say, hey, you're wrong. It's not because I turned 40 or 50. Oh, it's not because I'm supposed to feel this way. My hair's not falling out because it's hereditary. Like, you can actually be an advocate for yourself. So where the gut comes into play with this is our hormones, them make the transfer and make the conversions in the gut. Like I said earlier, 80% of our serotonin levels are made in our gut. So outside of the lab work that we do something called GI mapping. GI mapping is an at-home stool test. You do it in the privacy of your own bathroom. It is a quantitative data test that utilizes your DNA to get these results. And what I mean by quantitative data is, have you ever done a test that just says negative or positive? Oh, you're negative for this. Okay, well, that's great. But that's also telling me that same thing is like saying my blood work isn't out of range, but yet it's way on the bottom or way on the top, but it's not out of range, so we're okay. Without having a true quantitative data on something, we won't know if we just fall under or fall above something. So this test tests for over 150 different types of bacteria, both commensal, which is good bacteria, and opportunistic, which is the bad bacterias. It also checks for H. pylori, which most of you probably have heard of, Candida, and 3 other types of yeast. It checks for parasites and worms, protozoas of any sort. And then in addition to that, it does a lot of intestinal health checks when it comes to inflammation in the small intestine, large intestine, and the colon. It also checks for how your pancreatic function is looking, what your leaky gut is, if you have any at all. There's a second pathway that most women don't know about, especially with us with our estrogens. It's called the beta glucuronidation pathway. You know, a lot of women, oh, we're bloated, we think we're estrogen dominant, and we take DIM over the counter. Okay, but you can reduce your estrogens all you want. If you don't get it out of our system, we're going to still have that bloatedness around the hips, around the belly, and the legs. And that's because there's a whole second pathway that releases those estrogens from our body. This checks for that. In addition to that, it will let me know exactly what's going on with the small intestine, the large intestine, like I said, but the colon. For those of you that have said, I don't understand, my lower belly is always distended, or I go to the bathroom, but I don't feel complete. I never feel like I feel complete. Well, our colon is right there in that lower belly. So if we don't eliminate everything that's in there, you could be super, super lean and have gone to the bathroom, but still have that bloat. That's what we look into. We look at the size, basically, or the inflammation of the colon. And then we will check something called anti-gliadin, and that will let me know how reactive you are to gluten and cross-reactive foods to gluten. You know, sometimes it's not about cutting. It's hard, and we talked to the other coaches about this last week too. You know, a lot of the girls are like, if I just do a cut, I'll lose weight. Sometimes it's not about cutting. Sometimes it's about cutting out certain foods and eating more. If we can remove gluten or dairy or have some knowledge about some of the cross-reactive foods. And this test is able to do that. So you send it out in a prepaid FedEx envelope. We get it back usually within about 2 weeks or so. And then I'll go over the results with the GI doctor. And then you and I will schedule a time to go over it. And we, again, go over everything in detail and come up with a plan of care from most of the time a nutraceutical standpoint, meaning there's not a lot of pharmaceuticals involved with this unless need be. And it's going to be what type of probiotics you need, what type of prebiotics you need, what's digestive enzymes right for you and your gut. So that's how this testing itself works. But when it comes to hormones in general, just to answer the first question is, so for instance, our thyroid, let's use that with our gut. When we check blood work, we run a full set of labs, T3, T4, free and total.
I can wash everything.
I can turn it to.
Okay.
So, you know, for instance, for any of you guys listening to me before, you know my analogy with the car. So let's use our thyroid, for example. The thyroid TSH, which is a test everybody knows because every doctor runs a TSH test. Oh, your TSH is fine. Your thyroid's fine. Well, that's great. You just told me that I could buy a car because you gave me a nice set of jumper cables. Fantastic. But that's not why we buy cars, because of jumper cables, because it's a totally separate entity. So TSH is thyroid stimulating hormone. It stimulates the thyroid to make the hormone thyroxine. Some of you may have had that lab, it's just called a T4. T4 is about as good as lifting up the hood of the car and staring at the engine. You could stare at it all you want. The engine doesn't turn over, that car's not moving. Because that is the conversion of T4 to T3. T3 only usable form of thyroid hormone. But you know where it makes that conversion? In our liver and our gut. So guess what happens if we're gut healthy? That T3 is not making that conversion. Again, hormone health, thyroid health, connected synergistically. The two have to be good. Just like our liver has to be healthy, so does the gut. Once it makes the conversion in our liver or our gut, then it goes free. That's kind of like you putting your foot on the gas and making the car go. Sometimes you see a T3 free and the doctor says, oh, you're fine because your T3 free is good. Well, that's good. How much of it's free of what? What's the total? The lab work we do will tell us all of that. But again, it goes back to that gut. It goes back to the conversion. A lot of women we see, they'll tell me, we'll look at their labs and we'll see that the conversion's not there. T3 is not there. Well, first thing they tell me is, I'm not going to the bathroom. I go once every couple of days. I never feel complete. I'm really tired, but all of my levels come back okay.
Where'd she go?
She probably
just
got kicked out. Yeah.
I think she got disconnected. I'm assuming she'll be back. Oh no.
I was like, shoot, it was just getting good.
I know. Hi, Natasha.
Hey, how are you?
I had a full hysterectomy, so I need this.
Oh my God, it's so good to see you. When I saw you pop up, I'm like, oh my God,
I'm back.
It's Gina.
back.
I'm back. You got after a lot of medical shit, so I'm back.
I know. It's good to have you back. It's good to have you back.
I need Joanna badly now with hormones, so
I bet.
Yeah.
You've got to kind of recalibrate. Let me see if Joanna has messaged me.
She messaged me there. Nothing yet.
Let's hope she's not just like talking to herself.
Right, just rambling on, thinking we're all listening. I just texted her and said, we lost you, so that she's aware.
Because that's what I would be doing. I would just be like,
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Quick question for y'all. It's Hormone Logics. Is that correct? I just want to make sure. In West Palm Beach, right?
Yeah, hormone logics. Yeah.
Great. I'm gonna request a consultation. And ironically, my mom is going through some gut issues too. So I just realized this would be great for her too.
Yeah.
yeah. Subi,
Thank
I
It's pretty
will, I'll connect you. I'll send Joanna an email and connect you to her.
Okay. Do you think that I would be able to talk with her about my mom too? Or should I ask for? Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say that in the email. And so just for anybody, if you guys are interested, just let your coach know. And then they'll link you with Joanna. And it's just because she is so amazing at what she does. So she is very, very busy. But when it comes to us, she does a really good job at prioritizing all of our clients and our athletes. So she is crazy busy. Sometimes it does take, like a couple weeks to get an appointment with her, but it's so worth it. So worth it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
yeah. Yeah, Jane's been bugging me. She's like, go to Joanna. You've had a full hysterectomy. You need to get your hormones straight. So
Yeah.
yeah. I'm entering this in a whole new era now. Now I have no women parts. So now, you know what, though? I don't have to worry about a period on show day, though. There you go.
That's amazing,
That's true.
right?
Silver lining.
There you go. I just look at the positive. I think she's, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I know I have an appointment with her. So I should be.
You call her into the call. Have her not put the camera on so she doesn't.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. I think
You
she's
back?
back. Maybe. Interesting. Joanna joined. It says Joanna joined. I don't know if that's her Joanna. Oh, yep. No. Yeah, she's back, but she's just not in screen yet.
She's missing.
She's
What
missing.
happened to Joanna?
Yeah,
Joanna, come back.
Oh, I see a hand.
Oh,
She's on mute. So.
yay.
Hi, Corinne.
Hey,
It's
how are
Eli.
you?
Okay, Joanna, we can
Yay.
see you.
I know, I see so many of my girls. I see a lot of my girls on there say, hi, guys.
Joanna, you're still on mute.
Oh, stop. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. I have a new puppy.
Where'd she go? Oh, she's got Todd trying to help her.
I'm sitting here talking to you guys on mute. That sounds like you, Tosh. Yeah, I know. I was gonna say it must be like a network thing, maybe. Yeah. Good to see everyone, though. Got a good group today. I feel like we should have like a dance party or something. Everyone just show us their best moves. Yeah, we could do like, you know, like the Soul Train thing, where we're like, everybody takes a turn. Yeah. I don't really.
Is anybody competing next weekend? No?
Are you?
Yes, Ryan.
Yeah.
Are you?
I am.
Is that your last
I
one,
am.
Ryan?
I think
Yes.
got it. Does that work?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, perfect. Sorry, I had to grab him in here to fix it.
Oh, there she is.
I got it. It's fine. Thank you.
What show are you on?
Baltimore.
I'm sorry.
The Baltimore Pro.
Yay.
Hopefully it's
All
gonna be a
right.
good one.
Much
I love
better.
that
Oh,
show.
good.
Are we good?
Fun show.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, good to know.
We're good.
Welcome back.
Perfect.
We're good.
All right, perfect. So I don't know if can you guys see me okay? Perfect. All right. Yeah, I had to have him come in here and fix it. I think there's something going on. So when I re-click the link to come back in, it doesn't let me in. And I have to like reset the whole computer for some reason. It keeps telling me the link's unavailable. Anyway, we're back. So basically, like I was trying to explain about the thyroid, you know, that's where a lot of the conversion happens. The same thing happens with, you know, our sex hormones. We need our gut health to more so than just for digestion. We need it for a lot more of just overall the body itself needing the healthy gut to absorb the food. Leaky gut, if you're not getting the nutrients, you're not going to lose weight. The body's smart. It's going to hold on to whatever it can if it doesn't think it's going to get more fuel. Well, you can eat all you want. If you're not getting the nutrients, you're not getting fuel. If you're not getting nutrients, guess what else is not happening? Your brain's not feeling good. The connection between the brain and the gut, again, outside of just 80% of our serotonin levels being made in our gut, it's also where our vitamins are absorbed, biotin. So when women come to me and tell me I have issues with my hair, okay, well, if your gut's unhealthy, guess what's not being absorbed? Biotin. Biotin, we all know, is linked to hair. Also, folate, folic acid, made in our gut. That's where we need. So
the bottom line is how important the gut is for not only our thyroid hormone, our sex hormones, and our stress hormones, but also for losing weight, dropping the numbers on the scale that we're looking for, whether it's body fat or an actual overall number. How many of you guys don't go to the bathroom every day? Good majority of you. I mean, or do we think it's okay that when we go on vacation, how many of you go on vacation and go, oh, I don't go when I go on vacation. It's just I'm nervous. No, that's not normal. If we go to, whatever we put in needs to come out. If it doesn't come in and go out, then we have a problem. Guess what's happening? Our tiny little colon that's at the bottom of our belly that we're all saying the same thing. I'm so bloated. We only need that much, literally, to be in there. If you only let out a little bit, guess what's happening? That's where that belly is absorbed, like that. So that has a lot to do with how our body digests the food. Water absorbed into the colon, you need to make the conversion in the large intestine into the small intestine. It has to actually get through the whole, but if you're constipated, that's going to be up in the large intestine. It takes a long time to get down to the bottom. It's just water. People think, oh, it's just water. It goes right through. It does not. That's why we feel very inflamed in our upper belly when we drink a lot of water, because it has to be pushed down. So that's kind of just a quick gist of like what the GI mapping can do, what I could do. I'd love to take like individual questions. I'm so much better with, you know, answering things one-on-one. If somebody wants to like ask.
Joanna, I have a meeting with you. I'll address my questions with you when I meet with you. I have an appointment already.
Right. Okay.
So we'll talk about my gut.
Perfect. Perfect, Milay.
Okay.
I see
Gina,
you have your hand up.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I've been with Jamie for about now. I had a year off. I had a full hysterectomy. So my hormones are obviously all over the place. It was 3 months ago. I'm coming back this month. But she wanted me to make sure I get my hormones straight. The doctor put me on obviously estrogen because of the hot flashes. Now, my question is that I feel like I'm regular, but I feel like, is it going to be harder to get back into competition shape after a hysterectomy? Or is it more on my hormone levels?
Are you okay with me asking you a question about what you're doing right now?
Whatever you ask me, yes.
Okay. Did your doctor put you on progesterone as well, or just estrogen?
Just estrogen. And it was after so I just hit my 12th week from surgery. And I started getting, actually, it's not even 12 weeks yet, it's been 11. But I was starting to get really bad hot flashes. And then kind of the mood level was going up and down. But other than that, I didn't see weight gain. I basically stayed the same. So.
So there's, how many of you guys know a good pair of shoes, like a good pair of Christian Louboutins? We all love a nice red bottom shoe, right? It doesn't fit every foot. So I'm prefacing what I'm saying by there's a shoe for every foot. For reason being is the way that we do things is very different, and our view on things from an integrative standpoint is to optimize one health. We don't cookie cutter any program we do. And I'm cautious with saying this is because there are plenty of general doctors out there that do the right thing and they actually listen to the patient and guide them in the right direction. You should never be on estrogen without progesterone. Okay. Once you've gone through whether it's a weird change. Personally, I have everything intact. Estrogen with progesterone, you will become estrogen dominant because your progesterone is not enough. Anybody over the age of 35, for the most part, our progesterone levels start to drop for the most part. Again, nothing cookie cutter, but that's what the blood work's going to tell. You taking estrogen is helping you with hot flashes. Are you still getting night sweats though?
I've only been on it for about a week now. About a week now. Not even actually, like 5 days. But So that's why, I mean, I'm actually have your number and I'm actually going to set up an appointment with you really quickly, like tomorrow. But, because I need to get this, like, I fast Jamie. I'm like, okay, he's putting me on progesterone. I mean, as estrogen. She's like, okay, well, talk to Joanne. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that. So I'm just
Well,
really
it's
nervous
like
because my
it's like a
body
seesaw.
respond, better than it was before because it was so out of whack before because of all of this. So
It's
I'm
just optimizing the levels that are lacking, but it's like a seesaw. If you give too much of one and not enough of the other, you're not going to get the balance. One's going to be like this. Now, as women, we go like this all month long, every hour, every day. Hence why, they're like, oh, they're crazy. We're not crazy. It's our hormones do this all the time. We just have to find what's optimal for us. When we do blood work, we'll be able to see what you're taking from your doctor. You need estrogen. It's just as long as it's in your position, like you need estrogen. If you're getting hot flashes, we got to get you on estrogen, but you should need progesterone. What's going to happen is you're not going to sleep. If you don't sleep, your cortisol is going to be high. If you don't sleep, your body is not going to metabolize. If you don't sleep, you're not going to get back into competition shape. You can be in a prep and you have no other hormonal, quote unquote, hormonal issues. If you don't sleep, anybody who's prepped for any of us who have prepped from a show, if we don't sleep, we're not dropping. We look watery. We look water retentive. We look bloated. We need to sleep. Your hormones will shift too much over a period of time that if you're too estrogen dominant, besides the visual side effect that you get from it, you're not going to sleep, which is going to raise your cortisol levels, which is going to send us into a spiral of what we call metabolic, inconsistencies. Okay. So yes, you can. The long-winded answer to your question is yes, you can get back to, I have plenty of women that are on stage that are on progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, because we're balancing their hormones. There's three legs, and being one of them. And you can see how wonderful she looks. Look at, the women that are stepping on stage that are on these medications are because they're balanced. So yes, I just don't, we have to look at your labs because I just don't I can't imagine taking estrogen without any progesterone unless you have some unusual case is going to be beneficial.
Okay, because it's all so new to me, so that's why I'll set an appointment with you and we can get this going.
Yeah, education is key. Again, this is the part that frustrates me. With if we don't know. We don't know. Like there's nobody giving us the answers. I'm not a be all. I don't learn. I mean, I've got some great people that I've worked alongside for the last 11 years and educating me, but my own personal experiences have brought me to where I am today too. My fight with general medicine doctors that tell me I'm fine when I knew I wasn't. The things that I've been through personally, but what is good for you may not be good for Christine, may not be good for Mile, may not be good for Michelle. Like we just have to figure out your number could be exactly the same as Anne's. You could be the same age, have the same symptoms. We would do something just a little bit different with you as long as we bring in the three key hormones that we need. Estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone.
Okay, awesome.
Right.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Getting in touch with you tomorrow, so for sure. Thank you for answering my question.
You're very welcome. Michelle, you had a question?
Where's Michelle?
I think she's on mute.
She's on mute.
Geez, I thought I'd been okay.
Listen, I'm the last person to say anything. Did you see my catastrophe tonight?
Okay. Well, I just turned 57, right? And I've been working with Corinne, and I had one good show. I mean, obviously we're always improving. We want to improve. So I'm prepping for a show for December, second week of December. And I've already talked to you, Joanna. Why, if I start now with the program, is it going to affect that? Should I, I guess that's my main question.
Yeah. Right. So here's the thing. Again, depending upon what you're struggling with. So if you said to me, Joanna, I'm struggling with sleep, then, or I'm struggling with night sweats. Well, guess what? Yes, because we're going to optimize what you're struggling with. We're going to get you to a point where you feel your best. You're your best version of yourself. So ultimately, that's going to translate into a really good prep.
Okay.
I was reading an email earlier from a patient that said, this is literally the easiest prep I've ever had in my entire history of competing. She's been competing for 12 years. Now, she's only transitioned into this, you know, menopausal, premenopausal state over the last 5 of those. The reason why is because we finally balanced her hormones. So if you, when we look at your numbers and you say, this is what's wrong with me, this is what I'm feeling, then we go, okay, let's look at your, this is probably why you're feeling this way. Let's optimize these numbers. And guess what happens? It's like a harmonious, all the praises sing out loud, and then everything falls into place, you know?
Okay. And I guess the only other question I had was, I mean, are there women out there that don't really have to adjust estrogen and progesterone? I mean, could our levels, you said everybody's different, so could, you know, having night sweats real bad and we're not having hot flashes anymore, my blood work's gonna be right.
And that's what the blood work does. I mean, I have women that have gone through, they've been blessed, they've gone through all of their changes, and they're like, I never experienced it. I just know that I'm experiencing, my skin is not as, doesn't have the moisture and the collagen. I'm having vaginal dryness. My sex drive is down. Okay, so let's work on the vaginal dryness. Let's work on anti-aging, growth hormone, peptides, things like that. Let's give you testosterone cream or testosterone, you know, so, but they don't have hot flashes or night sweats. Now, when you're out of progesterone completely, I don't, even with, I mean, some women are fine on testosterone with no progesterone. But what we're finding is if you're completely out of progesterone in your body, you're not sleeping good. There's no harm in adding progesterone back in. Okay. I take it, I knew as the minute I started getting even the slightest bit hot at night, the slightest bit, I was like, oh, that's me, click a cream, put it on my wrist. That was it, go to bed. I started noticing I'm not sleeping good. Well, it's the same way we don't sleep right before we get our period. The reason why we don't sleep right before we get our period is because our progesterone levels drop. You know, we just try to optimize. You'll see women that say, oh, I'm fine up until day 15. Then I'm like a raging lunatic. That's because our estrogen levels are at its highest. Our progesterone levels are here. This is going down. This is going up. So we try to balance it. So maybe we'll just do cream on days 15 through 28. You get your period on day 28. We have to figure out what works right for you, but we have the tools to do that. The blueprint is really the blood work and the GI mapping. You don't go into a home and say you want to rebuild. I bought a brand new house, but I want an open concept. I want that. Everybody wants the open concept kitchen wall. You don't go in there and just knock down walls without knowing what's behind the walls. You know there's something behind the wall. You just don't know what or where. Guess what? That's your blueprint. You take a blueprint, you figure out, oh, I can take this wall down. This isn't load bearing. This this doesn't have an electrical box behind it. I'm not going to bang out plumbing. That's our blueprint with your blood work. And having the ability to do that, you know, our blood work is like going to an endocrinologist, a gynecologist, a rheumatologist, a general medicine doctor. You know, without rule out, find out, you know, I mean, how many women have I caught with autoimmune that just don't get tested? It's a couple of simple tests, an ANA and a TPO. For those that don't know my experience, I kicked and screamed and fought with doctors because I knew something was wrong. Jamie's my coach. We were in a prep. She said to me, this is when I send you to you, girl. She's like, I got nothing with you. I don't know what to do. I'm like, all right. You know, I started doing my blood work. My thyroid was a little off. You know, but I was exhausted but you just go into autopilot. I'm a mom, wife, family member, you know, you're working, busy, but then you're trying to prep and you struggle and you struggle. And the more you push on something that's not working right, the more damage we do. So after 3 or 4, fourth doctor, but 3 doctors and one telling me, you know, you turned 40, maybe it's time to hang up the heels. Like, I've been competing on, you're going to tell me because I turned 40, I should not compete anymore? How dare you? You know, and that I was fine. I finally found a doctor who would listen to me, whether she humored me or not. I thank her every day for it. you know, and she gave me an ultrasound of my thyroid. Came back that I had multiple nodules. And some of you guys know my story. You know, I went to a second level endocrinologist. He did a needle biopsy. And the minute that he put the needle in my neck, he's like, you're lighting up like a Christmas tree. You have Hashimoto's. Now, I will tell you, I ate super clean for prep. I did not eat clean for an autoimmune. I still had gluten. I still had dairy. I still had grains. I still had nightshades. I mean, my God, I ate eggplant and roasted pepper, red pepper. That was a staple in my prep. It worked before, but my Hashimoto's had flared up more so from stress, change of, you know, a situation in my personal life caused stress, you know, business, work, everything. And then my hormones were shifting. Fast forward, he's like, you know, I felt like that was a weight off my shoulder. I'm a nutritionist. I'm like, oh God, that explains everything. I'll stop eating non-gluten-free oats in the morning. I'm going to take out the breads and the pastas and because I never worried. And then he's like, you've got some other stuff going on, and called me back 3 days later. I had papillary thyroid cancer. It was in my lymph nodes. It was in my strap muscle. I had a full thyroidectomy, 2 rounds of external beam radiation, a round of radioactive ion therapy. It was just 4 years that I had the surgery on October 4th. And January, I'll be 4 years cancer-free, knock on wood. I have my PET scan coming up in 2 weeks. And with that being said, you know, thank you, Sky. With that being said, though, I wasn't out of range. My levels were not out of range. I turned 40. It's part of my hormones. I hang up the heels. Maybe I'm putting too much stress on my body. No. So because of that, again, my own personal stuff, I run those extra autoimmune. That TPO test for Hashimoto's, $38.88. Do you know how many women, I mean, the coaches know how many women, I've got 3 coming up this week that I'll tell them that they had Hashimoto's from blood work. As soon as you know what you've got, as hard as that diagnosis is to hear, you go, my God, I have an answer. I wasn't wrong. Like I'm validated. I wasn't wrong. My doctor, after we went through everything, I said to him, I go, can I ask you a question? And he was a godsend. I said, how long do you think it would have taken for my blood work that was within range to catch up with what I actually had going on? And he's like, I don't know, Joanna, a couple of years. So what I was feeling was exhaustion, heavy legs, hair thinning, everything that my patients come to me for. The problem is that's so many overlapping symptoms for so many different things: sex hormones, stress hormones, thyroid hormone, you know, gut. That's why we do what we do. Get a blueprint of everything going on inside of you. The brain connection to the gut, the thyroid connection to the gut, your stress hormone, your cortisol connection to the gut. If you're constipated, you've stressed out your entire body. It's supposed to do something. Our bodies are supposed to work for us. As long as we're healthy, it's supposed to work for us. We shouldn't have to work that hard for our bodies, you know? And it's a shame that we just assume that we are because we're 35 or older. You know, that's what happens. Wait till we get to 45. I know that I've changed from 35 to 40. Now I'm 46. I'm like, God, even after 45, it's like, oh, the waist is getting a little, I have to adjust my hormones. I know. So.
Well, thank you.
Great. Anne, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm actually going to ask questions that I asked you a long time ago because I think it might help other people. My questions to Joanna were, you know, I've been an athlete, I've competed, I eat super clean, I exercise, I don't eat crap food, I don't drink a lot of alcohol. How did I get here? And kind of just to back up for everyone who doesn't know, as Joanna said, I fell off a cliff. My hormones had all gone wonky, and so had my thyroid. But more importantly, my gut was really infected. We did GI mapping, and you name it, I had it wrong. I had H. pylori, I had a candida infection, I had severe SIBO, like bacterial overgrowth. My inflammation marker was completely through the roof, and I just felt kind of helpless, like, you know, I've always taken care of myself. How did I get here? How does someone who feels like they're doing everything right get have their gut this screwed up. So if you could kind of address how we get here, what are some of the things that cause us to get here? And my second thing, if you could touch on the link between gut health and your hormones in your thyroid, and how much of that conversion happens in your gut. So when your gut is a mess, it's no wonder all of your other systems aren't working properly, because they can't do what they're supposed to do in your gut.
Sure. So your first thing, like, how did we get here? Well, life got us here. Stress got us here. We, as mothers, as wives, as business owners and business professionals, as athletes, we put stress on our body, no matter what. But you know what we are? We just go. We're the conductor of a train, or we're the engineer of the train, and we just got to get that train from point A to point B. It's got to get people where it's got to go. So we go, and it just becomes life. And sometimes we don't even realize how tired we are, or how good we're not sleeping, or how little energy we actually have, because we're just in autopilot and we go. So the air we breathe, the hands we shake, the clothes we wear, I mean, gosh, we all went through a pandemic and are still in some states dealing with, the changes. And I mean, our whole entire lives changed. If we think that we could just take it on the chin like a champ, well, our bodies could pretend, but they're eventually going to show. The gut is the epicenter connection to the brain. And if you think about how the brain and the gut talk to each other, let's say this, as women, when you have that gut intuition, something's not right. You just, whether as it's a parent, a relationship, yourself, you just know something's not right. That's because there's such a direct line from your gut to your brain, as women and men. But women, we have that sixth sense. That's our gut talking to us. We know something's not feeling good. The first place we feel it is in our gut. Something's not right. We're not going, have you ever noticed, if you hurt yourself, injure yourself, you don't go to the bathroom? I don't know if anybody's taken notice. You will now. If your legs hurt, like if you broke an ankle, if you broke a finger, your body shuts down immediately, because what it does is it pulls water to the injured area. We injure ourselves every time we work out. So think about this. When we're in our mother's womb, we're encased in water. That's protecting us in that encasement of water. That's what our body knows to do. The brain knows to pull water to an injured area. So if we're pulling water to the injured area, guess where that water isn't anymore? In our gut. Guess what we need to go to the bathroom? The waters. So now we've all of a sudden been dehydrated. So guess what happens? You injure your wrist, you don't go to the bathroom. You'll all notice it now. Like, hopefully none of you guys get hurt, but I'm telling you, you'll notice it now. You'll be like, oh my God, like, what's going on? So with that being said, the body knows, the body is so smart, and the body knows that it has to pull water to the injured area. So it takes the water from the area that we need, and that's going to the bathroom. So whether it's physical, mental, emotional, it's still draining. So we go to the gym, we work out, we train. Somebody doesn't wipe down the thing before us. How often prior to COVID did you guys wipe? I mean, we all did. We threw a towel down, but I mean, we weren't like nut jobs. Like, we're all like this now, cleaning things down, but we didn't before. Why? Because we just didn't live in that world. Maybe some people did, and that's fine, but we didn't live in that world. We picked up everybody else's germs. We picked up everybody else's toxins. We built an immunity to things, and then we got sick from things. Toxins build immunity. Toxins also give us sickness. If you take yourself and you have allergies, and I live in South Florida. I go to, let's say, Albany. The pollen is different in Albany. I have, for whatever reason, I don't have allergies, but in Albany I have allergies. Why? Because something's different. I don't have that immunity to it. My body is accustomed to what it's accustomed to. The same place I've been my entire life, South Florida. Now take me and go up to Colorado. I snowboard and ski. I mean, I go to Breckenridge. You know where that elevation is compared to flat Florida where I live? So I get elevation sickness. I can get, why? Because I make less red blood cells than I do here. Your body makes more red blood cells at the higher elevation. So for those of us, when we go up, we're like, why do we get this? I do things now to be preventative with it. I take oxygen drops and, you know, I do all the things that I need to do to bring my red, but it takes 9 days to get yourself accustomed to that elevation. 9 days, I'm already back at work after 3. So if I don't prep myself for it, but again, our body gets used to what it is around. We pick up things around us. You can get sick from anything, or you can have immunity from anything that you are accustomed or non-accustomed to being around. I don't know if that made any sense to everybody, but. And then what was the other question you asked me? This is where the brain fog, you guys know about the brain fog?
I guess just explaining the link. I mean, for me, it was the whole experience of my entire body crashing was the best education I ever got, because I learned so much about how everything works and just the connection between your hormones and your gut. Remember, I must have asked Joanna a million times, like, what happened first? Did my screwed up gut cause my hormone dysfunction, or was it the other way around? And it was like, don't know. It's chicken and the egg kind of a thing. But just learning how connected they are and how much of your hormone production happens in your gut. Just the importance of gut health when all your other systems aren't working right either.
Our gut is so important to us. And like I was saying earlier, even just using the example of the thyroid, you know, if you're not making the conversion to T3 and it makes it in your gut or your liver, well, guess what's happening? Your car's engine's never turning over. Your T4 levels could look great. Your engine, pick up that hood of the car and stare at that engine all you want. It's beautiful. Doesn't turn over, you ain't moving. Better yet, if you put the car in reverse, you're never getting to your destination. Another test, but guess what happens in the gut that's unhealthy? The car goes backwards. It makes a conversion to RT3, which is a reverse T3. An unhealthy gut can either A, promote no conversion, or B, promote a backwards conversion. And usually we'll know if it's an RT3 because somebody will say, I'm completely exhausted, but like at the same time, they're going to the bathroom all the time. It's a weird phenomenon but most of the time they're going to the bathroom all the time, but they're super exhausted. It's usually reverse T3 because it's reversing backwards. So now it's putting you in gear, but you're putting your foot on the gas and you're going that way. You're never going to get to your destination. But the gut is the connection to the mind. It's the connection to our hormones. It's where, you know, like I said, we absorb all of our vitamins. Without vitamins, what happens? We don't, like I said, hair, we don't absorb. Without the connection with the foods being turned over, without magnesium. Magnesium's made, you know, if you think about estrogen levels, estrogen is, again, our body's smart. So when we start to drop our estrogen, as we do when we go through perimenopause and menopause, the estrogen levels start to drop. You know what happens then? Our body goes, oh no, I'm supposed to have estrogen. Okay, where does it get it from? Fat. So what does it do? Exactly, it starts storing the fat. Why does it store the fat? Well, gosh, I'm supposed to have estrogen. So it already told you that you're starting to get hot. You're starting to notice the hot flashes are coming on. You're starting to notice the night sweats are coming. You're going to start to notice the vaginal dryness, the skin's drying. It's giving you all the signals that your body needs it. Well, eventually it's going to go, whoa, 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 I'm smart. I need to fix it. So what does it do? You know where it stores the fat? In the gut, the belly, visceral fat. That is where it finds its estrogen. But by the time it realizes that I'm not getting enough estrogen to keep up with the changes of life, guess where that fat stays? Visceral, belly, hips, you know, that's just, but you also, what's going on in that time is we're not able to go to the bathroom. So now constipation starts to come on. Then we're bloated. So is it, like she said, the chicken or the egg and the chicken? Either way, however yours started, people come to me unhealthy guts all the time. The foods that we eat, yeah, sure, you hit your macros. You know, this whole flexible dieting, if it fits my macros, great. So go eat McDonald's drive-through, once a day, you'll hit your macros, you'll be sick as a dog. I'm not knocking people's lifestyles, but that's not, I'd rather see whole foods, you know, foods that are healthy for us, that are easy for the body to break down, because that's what it is. If you think, you know, and I always use the caveman story, like cavemen didn't eat McDonald's. They didn't have, you know, they found their meat, they found their vegetables, they found their stuff live off the land, one ingredient foods. If they were eating animal products, well, you're getting whatever the animal ate too, for the most part. But one ingredient foods, whole foods, nutrient. Somebody says, I'm super inflamed. I don't know. I'm doing everything right. Well, what are you eating? I'm eating this, that. Okay, well, you've just told me 4 different fake sugars that you take in. Well, it's sugar-free. Great. Does it taste good? Yeah. It's not sugar-free. It is, but it's fake sugars. You know, diet soda, I don't know what's going on lately, but I have more women coming to me with the diet soda conversation. They're like, but it's, I think it was diet root beer or whatever. I must have heard diet root beer probably in the last month 10 times. People are like, I'm drinking the diet ale root beers. I don't know. I don't drink it, but diet soda is top 3 reasons for diabetes 2. Diet soda, zero, Coke Zero, Diet Coke. Why? Because if it still tastes good, it's got fake sugars in it. There's no fake sugars in a caveman. There wasn't that. But guess what cavemen look like? They're lean and tight with muscles. And so if you, whether you're, this theory behind the foods, like gluten-free, dairy-free, great. It's not for everybody. Some people eat gluten just fine. I have no problem. But it's still an inflammatory food. If it doesn't affect your body, great. But when you say, I can't drop weight, I'm eating perfectly clean whole foods. Okay, so let's start now removing the things that are, gluten is glue. So now let's go back to digestion. It's a binding. It's what binds the forms. So if it's bound together, it's glued together. Guess where that is sitting? In our gut. Guess what happens? We get inflamed. Guess what happens with the inflammation? We can't go to the bathroom. Everything triggers back to digestion. Digestion triggers everything else. Everything goes back to digestion. Digestion triggers everything else. It's like this. It's like a figure 8. It goes like this. From the here to the liver, like this. Think about that way. And if something's not working, everything else at some point gets blocked up. So start from here and be the middle of that figure 8 and go up and around and back and down. If you can think about this, most of the other stuff that we can control can be controlled by this. We have to get this healthy. That makes sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Question.
Anybody else have any questions?
Natasha and Christine have their hands raised.
Yes, I have a question. So Joanna, I know as coaches, I know I can speak probably for Anne and Corinne and myself, we're really diligent in following people's patterns. And when they get to a point, we can say, hey, we think it'd be a great idea to work with Joanna. But I know sometimes people are like, yeah, whatever. So when do people recognize, or when do you recommend like that they follow up and they have gut mapping done and they have their hormones tested? Because I feel like it's such a, not a conflict of interest, but it's just hard for people to understand like how important it is. So like, I feel like there's a lot of cases that it doesn't need to be extreme, right? We don't need to like have extreme things happening to benefit from all of this, like a full workup done. So like, when do you recommend to people to have these things done?
I think it was, Christine, I think I were having this conversation when we were on the phone about a baseline, like really knowing, she knows from, people that she works with herself, like having that baseline as a coach, I would say right away to explain to them, because for you're the architect. You're the person trying to build a house. For you, gosh, if you know everything that's going on, where they're lacking, if we can optimize, well, why not? It's only going to benefit from a coach's standpoint, but kind of getting that transitioned into somebody that says, but I feel fine. That's okay. You do feel fine. When was the last time you had blood work done? Oh, my doctor runs it every year. Well, what do they run? They run a CBC, you know, they run a CMP. Okay. They run a TSH. Everything's within range. Send me your labs. Most of the time you will find somewhere in those labs, something's on the high end or the low end. Doesn't have to be flagged high, but most of the time, anytime we've done this with any of the girls, I'm like, send me your old labs. Well, what did your doctor tell you? Why was your WBCs at 9.9? I don't know. They said it was fine. I was in the range. Well, you also had something going on with your body. That's your body's immune system fighting you on something. Well, I don't remember. Was I sick or I don't know. Were you? Well, then you look down and you can see, like in blood work, for instance, there's white blood cells and it's broken down to, you can see like monocytes, eosinophils, basionophils, neutrophils. So neutrophils make up for the most of our white blood cells in the body. When we look at eosinophils, which is a big trigger for our gut, eosinophils are the white blood cells in our gut and our lungs. So I say the first thing, do you have asthma? No. When eosinophils are high? No. Did you have bronchial infection? Did you have COVID? Did you get the COVID vaccine? Like, talk to me about the lungs for a second. No. Okay. Do you have problems with the gut? Oh God, yeah, I never go to the bathroom. I've been having sharp shooting pain in my upper part of my gut out of nowhere. All of a sudden I can't eat meat anymore. Okay. You might have a parasite. Your white blood cells are at a 4. Well, it's not flagged high. There should be at 0. Like, you shouldn't have maybe 1. Like, you shouldn't have a response. This is your body working for you, but you have to read it. You have to see it. So having that baseline, so most of the time, like I said, when they go, oh, I'm like, okay, send me your labs. That's fine. I'm not trying to spend anyone's money. But at the bottom line is, send me your labs. When I see your labs are not, well, why is this on the high end or low end? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, this is the reason why. When it comes to labs, optimization is key. So having a baseline, whether it's a coach trying to get a blueprint so they can be a better architect or artist, you know, with their patient or their client. For me, it's about us as women getting ahead of it. It's inevitable we're making changes in our body. That's the one thing for sure we know. We know at some point in our lives, between the ages of most likely 35 and up, maybe 45 for some women, it could be 50. But sometime after 35, you have to agree that there's going to be changes. We're going to slow down. Our libido is going to go down. We may lose hair. We start to congestion, the body. Get a baseline. I think everybody, if I told you that I could take you to 5 different doctors on one phone call because of the labs we run and the GI mapping, without you having to do anything but sit in your own bathroom, do the GI test, and go for one blood test, says a lot. I mean, and I know, like Chris, like I said, I've had this conversation with Christine. Like, who has the time to go to 5 different doctors? I don't even have time to leave my desk half the time. I have a treadmill under my desk so that I don't get yelled at by Jamie from not getting my steps in. You know, like, I don't have time to go to multiple different doctors. Run the labs. If I feel like somebody's on the high end or low end or something that's not something that I feel like we could see or we need you to have a touch, we'll send you out. I'll say, this is what you need to tell your doctor. Or better yet, as a human, I say, yes, we're cash pay. We do take HSA and FSA, but we're cash pay. You have insurance. Let me tell you what to tell your doctor. Let me tell you exactly what to say so that your doctor maybe will listen to you. Let me educate you so you can be an advocate for yourself when speaking to your doctors, like I did. I will tell you, I would have been sitting there for 2 more years before my blood work caught up to how I felt, because I was over 40 and I should hang up the heels. And excuse my French, but that's bullshit. We shouldn't have to just do that. We as women should defend ourselves and be advocates for ourselves. We are healthy. We're in this industry for a reason. We're paying coaches. I know I pay Jamie. I've been paying Jamie since 2017. Do you want to know why I continued to pay her even when I couldn't prep for a show until now, because she told me to get off my ass already enough. And she thought I was just kind of, enough is enough. I'm like, you think I'm just milking it? She's like, enough. We've had enough. Like, we need to get on track now. I was trying to adjust to the medications. I was fearful without a thyroid that I was going to blow up, just like every other girl. Like, I can't control it. I was fearful. I'm thankful, knock on wood, my medications, having the doctor, having my knowledge, having my doctors that I talk to, I made the decision of adding certain things in, and my doctor allowed me to do so. These are the things I want to teach you guys. So maybe when you talk to your doctors, they'll listen to you. And if they don't, well, we work with the largest compound pharmacy in the country. So, and then we'll help you. But the end of the day, the more you know, the more education you have about yourself, the more you have, even if not for yourself, for your daughters, for your sisters. So many people have sent me their sisters and their mothers who aren't competitors or in the lifestyle world, and we found things that they would have never been able to get to me if it weren't for me educating one of you guys. And for that, I am just so incredibly grateful to be able to have this platform to do that. And I do believe, and others have heard me say this, I do believe that, whatever anybody stated, but I do believe that I went through and got the cancer that I did because I have this platform to share with other women, to teach, to educate. One of the biggest, things that I guess the best feeling I had was, my surgeon asked me to speak at a ThyCan event, which is thyroid cancer survivor. So he asked me to speak at a ThyCan event. I had my thyroid taken out in 2018. It was January of 2019. I had just finished radioactive ion therapy, which, might I tell you, is probably the most lonely thing you will ever have in your entire life, because you literally have to sit alone. No animals, no people. I had to cover my door handles. I had to eat with paper plates and forks. I had to saran wrap my toilet seat. My dog couldn't be there. People couldn't be there. I couldn't talk on my phone. I was radioactive. I went through external beam radiation. I'd take that over going through radioactive ion therapy to radiate myself, anything that was left in me ever. But I will tell you, in that time I was sitting there, he called me and he's like, how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm miserable. I'm so lonely. It is the most lonely thing to go through. He's like, well, can you figure out something? I'd like you to speak at an event for me. I was like, sure. What? Before COVID. So I was like, yeah, sure. Like, what do you want? He's like, there'll probably be a couple thousand people there, whether they're online or. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm good with my group, my one-on-ones. I don't know about all that. He's like, just be confident in what you do. I went to the event, and 10 rows back to my left is the woman who told me, you turned 40, it's time to hang up your heels maybe, and discredited how I felt, that it was my hormones, and told me that I was fine. And when I told my story, I used her in my story. I said, for all you women that have been to doctors that told you your levels are within range, or it's your hormones, and maybe it's because, or maybe you should stop competing and you should hang up the heels. It was such a validation to see an endocrinologist who was a high-level endocrinologist sitting there, listen to your patients. Women know, but you know what? Some women just don't know what to say, and they just trust. And again, education is key. The more you can realize the body, mind, gut connection, the more I can educate you, the better advocate you could be for yourself, and use your platform with all of your women, to help them.
Christine, do you have a question? You're on mute.
There you go.
Other-
Yeah. Mine's more of a comment. So I'm an allopathic gynecologist. So I'm what Joanne's complaining about right now. And that's just how we're trained. So I have to be very careful when I talk to patients about integrative medicine. So integrative medicine is more about well-being in the full body, where allopathic medicine is more about we treat the symptom with the medication. They should go together, but they don't go together. And that's just how our medical field has come into being. But the question that was brought up is about the gut and how it works with the hormones. And I had a really hard time trying to put that together to explain to my patients what the importance is. So the person that I connect most with in integrative medicine is Mark Harmon, and he runs the Cleveland Clinic integrative medicine, which I believe is the largest integrative medicine in the country. And he explains that the gut is the only internal organ that ever sees the environment. So what you put in your mouth is what destroys your internal environment, because no other organ, your heart, your brain, your liver, does not see the external environment, but your gut does. And everything that goes into your mouth and into your gut will destroy your defense mechanisms. And when those defense mechanisms are destroyed, you can't bring in the nutrients to build the hormones that you need to build. And once I understood that, I understood why whenever you have a disease, even if you don't know what's going on, the first thing you change is your diet. You do an elimination diet, you eliminate the most common things and start working backwards. So for me, that's able to simplify to my patients that the first step is always the gut. But you always have to get that diet under control, because we can't tell what you're absorbing until we get that gut GI mapping. Unfortunately, in allopathic medicine, so as a gynecologist, I don't have a GI mapping test I can run. Even if I send them to a gastrointestinal doctor, they're just going to, if you don't have any symptoms that are obvious, they're not going to test you for much. They'll do a colonoscopy and say it looks good. So that's why I use Joanne for the integrative component of medicine, because I can't get it through the allopathic. But my comment is that the GI, the gut is what sees the external environment, and our external environment is what damages it.
Chris, thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you so much for sharing that, because that's just how I'm going to explain it to my mom. So she's been having serious issues. I want to say over 6 months now. Sharp pain in her belly. She's been taking like Pepto-Bismol to deal with the pain just to get to work on the morning. And when you did, Joanne, you spoke about like overly using the restroom. She had that for a little bit. Trying to get her to a doctor is very hard because she's just very stubborn. But I think the way that you explain the differences between medicine and medical practitioners, the lack of tests that she's going in for, that they're not testing for. I think if I explain that to her in that way, and just so then she just understands that gut is your internal environment, is great. So I just wanted to thank you, because I'm hoping that will help. And Joanna, sorry, I will be seeing you. And then with you, and I'll also make an appointment for my mom as well. So thank you.
I appreciate that. And thank you, Christine. I mean, you and I have talked at length, about kind of how this goes on. And, I always said I was talking, I believe it or not, I work with a ton of, doctors that, they don't always agree with how the practice is. But I say, in their defense, insurance will only pay for so much. Insurance will pay for treating symptoms. There is no proactivity. It's all about the reactivity. Okay, so she's sick, she has high blood pressure, so let's give her the medication for her high blood pressure, rather than something ahead of time may have, right, and we could have changed it. But insurance doesn't pay. And even with our labs, we've done this. Like the labs that we run, they're so in depth, but like even if the fullest panel, the biggest, every test I could possibly think of that's going to give me the best blueprint, even if it was $600, that set of labs, they will charge almost $5,000 to the insurance companies. It's $592. Now that's every lab. That's not just every woman that comes to me. That's all the labs that if I wanted to test everything I could you know, well, no wonder why doctors, because they know that these patients are going to get a bill. I was one of them. I did it. I put my labs through. The lab company gave me a bill for almost $1,200. I'm like, you can kick rocks, because I know that those numbers are really, I'll switch it to a cash pay. I switched it to a cash pay and it was literally $300. But they were trying to, I'm like, no, it doesn't. But that's why, like, doctors know the science behind, like, the ICD-10 codes and everything that they need to justify why they want to run a test. They need to justify why somebody needs something, but rather than, she just doesn't feel good. And it's possibly this, rather than what in the world that we're in, it's rule out and find out. That's the goal. Let's rule out what it is.
Yeah, I know how to code my labs, and I still had to pay over $1,000 because it's not about, it's what the insurance companies thinks is appropriate to pay, not me. And the other thing, like for hormone therapy as a gynecologist, if I prescribe testosterone, I can't even prescribe it at a therapeutic level. It is the DEA monitors every prescription I send for testosterone. And I can't even prescribe. So that's why most people have to pay cash for their testosterone as a female, because it is not supported by the DEA or the FDA. So I have to turn in, I've got 2 patients on testosterone right now, which is it's called ester test. And I've got to call it in every 30 days. And I'm monitored by the DEA, the same as I would for codeine, just to give a woman testosterone. So a lot of the allopathic medicine is controlled by the insurance companies. And I can document through my ass what I think is going on. And I have autoimmune diseases. They didn't cover half of the labs that you guys asked for. But then again, I tell people, you got to take control of your health, and that's going to cost. You don't get it for free.
It's a shame, though. And like I said, and who has the time too? You go to the gynecologist and then you have to go to the endocrinologist. Oh, and by the way, when I'm on my way to the endocrinologist, I have to talk to the gastro doctor. And then when I'm leaving the gastro doctor, I'm just going to go to my general medicine doctor. And then hopefully someone in there is going to realize that I need there's a mental side of this that goes on with, like, things like MTHFR and gene mutations that cause anxiety and depression and bipolar disorder. And these are, guess what? That's all your gut. Like, that's your gut. Do you know how many women have MTHFR, which is, I won't get too in depth with it, but is a gene mutation? I won't call out anybody, but Christine's raising her hand, have MTHFR, and we've been living with it. I can tell you, I knew once I learned I knew I had to have at least one of the mutations, because my mom is 6 ways from sideways crazy. Love her with all my heart, but old school Italian woman like this, like constantly worried about every single thing I do, and nothing's ever good enough. And it's this high strung, there's no way I didn't get at least one, because most of us as athletes, I have to tell you, for us to have this mentality as an athlete, there is this level of OCD, ADD, ADHD. We're a little controlling. We have to be. This is just, you have to be in this world. Like, if you can't, like, I don't know one patient that comes to me that's like, oh, I just went through my prep, no big deal. Like, no, I don't know anybody. Everybody's freaking out because they might have, like, their line on their arm isn't in enough and their shoulder isn't capped enough, or they have one little, like, bloat line. I'm like, but that's just who we are. So running labs like a B12 folate and homocysteine, if your homocysteine high and you're not releasing it out of the body, guess what happens? You have cellular anxiety. You know what that is? That's that person that comes to me and like, oh, I'm just an anxious person. No. Yeah, I'm just an anxious person. I've always been this way. Great. So you're telling me that you went and bought a brand new Maserati, drove off the lot, but there was a red light on your dash. But because it was there since the beginning, it's okay, right? It's no big deal. It's been there since you bought the car, so it's not a big deal. Wrong. If you have anxiety, there's something internally telling you you're not just an anxious person. That's what we've been told, though. We've just been told, oh, you're an A-type personality. No, you probably have MTHFR. And so, well, you know what we do? People with MTHFR get diagnosed with bipolar. They get diagnosed with depression. They get diagnosed with schizophrenia. Do you want to know a lot of the times how we can help women? Yes, put them on the right type of methylated B vitamin, just the right vitamin. I mean, a simple thing like a methylated B vitamin. You know what happens if your body doesn't methylate? You don't release homocysteine, creates anxiety. You know what happens when your body doesn't methylate? Folate, folic acid. You know what else happens? Biotin, B vitamins, biotin, hair. Other thing, blood-brain barrier. B vitamins have to break through the blood-brain barrier. You know what that is? Dopamine, happy endorphins, people feeling good. You give somebody a methylated B vitamin and they tell you that I gave them vitamin D and methylated B vitamin, and all of a sudden they're like, you would have thought that I hung the moon for them. It's just something about running the right labs, listening to each patient individually. Yes, there's a baseline of labs that we run, but we'll add in other things when we talk to the patient. I get in depth. You have anxiety, you have depression. Do you sleep? Do you wake up in the middle of the night or do you fall asleep? How bad is your sleep? Well, my sleep is bad. What do you mean? You don't fall asleep or you can't stay asleep? I can't stay asleep. Well, or I can't fall asleep. Well, those are two totally different things. Usually not falling asleep is progesterone, not staying asleep is testosterone. Or you have no magnesium, or better yet, you have no inositol because our body's not making it. You need inositol. You know what happens also without inositol? Without any insulin resistance. People don't know that. But guess what happens with every change of our menopausal states? Insulin resistance. What do? The right type of vitamins, nutraceuticals. If we can get ahead of it, rather than having to put you on insulin later on, you know, because you got to type 2 diabetes. Anyway, so, I mean, as you guys know, I can go on a soapbox. Most of you guys that know me, I'm super, as you could probably see, I'm super passionate about what I do. But if I could just educate and get to a baseline of everybody, again, there's no perfect science. I think Anna will attest to it, and so will Natasha. Sometimes we'll do really, really good, and then another variable will come into place, and we're like, all right, we're back to where we were before. Hi, I'm back. I'm doing it. Well, what happened? Well, I started to do, let's talk about it. What changed? When did it change? What else changed? Did your cycle change? Were you competing? Were you on prep for a really long time? Did you decide to put, animal products back into your diet when you were a vegan or vegetarian before? Like, what changed? Something changed, but they came back. Why? Because there's no our bodies change and we have to keep up with it. Think about keeping ahead of it. Imagine if you're going through, if you knew we map. We MapQuest, we Waze, we Apple Maps, whatever it is that we do. If we don't know where we're going, what do? We get the initial thing is, our phones tell us exactly where we need to go. Well, I know how to get home every day, but I'll tell you, I get in my car every night and my car automatically tells me how to get home because but if I have to take a detour, I wouldn't know about that detour if I hadn't Wazed it or mapped it. Why? Because a road's closed or something. That's what happens in the changes in life. Things happen. There's a road closure. We just need to stay on top of our body and we need to have that map. So having a baseline, getting a good feel for everything that's going on, knowing how to optimize and stay ahead. If it's on the higher end or the lower end, we talk about it. Whether it's the gut, whether it's your blood, and once we can optimize, there will be changes. There's no doubt. I can't stop your body from going through the changes, but I sure the hell can help you guys get ahead of it. Yeah, Natasha knows. We just went through GI mapping again.
Yes, and everything I have experienced with Joanna so far has flip-flopped. So, we discovered that I had an autoimmune disease and we had to deal with that first. And my gut was a mess then as well, but it was like everything was so entangled that we had to sort out one thing at a time. And we did. But now I'm back and, I had a really hard time this year with preps and ran everything again. And I'm dealing with different things now. And it's only through the education that I've had with Joanna that I can be my own advocate. Because to this day, I have had a team, you name it. I've had cancer specialist. I've had all these doctors, right, from the traditional medicine side. To this day, they all say the exact same thing. You look great. You're healthy. Go home. I'm going to, like, we're going to write you off in 6 months. And it's still the same thing. We got my gut back last week. I definitely have some stuff going on that has to be addressed. So what did I do? Joanna told me exactly what to say to my doctor. I sent him that email and we'll see what he says. And if he doesn't meet me, then I'll do what I always do. I will have to look for another part of my support team on that end. And that's where Joanna is so good. It's not, I know a lot of times people think it's like all the same for everybody, but it's not. Like herself and her entire team, they're so good about saying like, we don't know about this. Like, let's look a little deeper. Let's do a couple different things. And so it's just so, so helpful. So I wish everybody would have baseline testing done because it's life-changing. So thank you. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Christine, for sharing your perspective too from a different part of medicine, because most of the women we work with, that's what they're used to. They're just used to saying, okay, and not really digging deeper.
Well, and I think they go together, but just are, and I will blame my type of medicine. It's very arrogant. We know the God complex in a lot of doctors, but they actually do go very well together. So I always encourage my patients to rule out dead and dying function. So make sure you don't have the cancer. Make sure the bloating isn't caused by a colon tumor. Once we rule out, get the ultrasounds. Once we rule all that out, got to send you to someone who can work with you with function. I can tell you what I know, but I don't know it all. So I send them to Joanna.
And then it goes backwards too. Like when they come to me and I see stuff that obviously we're not touching the patient for the most part, or even if they are in our office, like we're not doing the ultrasounds in the office. This is where we send somebody. We'll go, okay, this is what you need to say to, Dr. Brandel. Like, this is what you need to go back and say. Here is what I've done. Here's all my stuff. Here, I've done this part for you. Something's not right here. And I need you to fix that for me. And that's where she's right, because they work hand in hand. It's just if I can say one last thing in closing, is that trust your gut. What you're feeling is real. Like I validated, Natasha, what she was going through. I'm like, well, look, this is causing you this. Oh, I have that. This is causing you this. Oh, I have that. But they were completely different things that she had before, because before we were addressing the fact that we found out she had an autoimmune. That was first thing. You have to line up what's important with your baseline. Focus on this first, focus on this. But at the end of this, if you can be an advocate, if you can be educated enough to know to speak up for yourself, and don't let somebody tell you, you look fine. It's just your hormones. You turn 40. Maybe you shouldn't compete. This is a part of life, ladies. No. Like she was saying, men should not be allowed to have testosterone covered by insurance, but not women. It doesn't make any sense. I can kick and scream and fight about it. Women have testosterone too. We should have testosterone covered by insurance as well. The FDA shouldn't tell me that I should get old and not want to have sex with my husband. Again, kick rocks. Like, I know that I want to put back into my body and feel the best I ever felt. If that was at 25, if it was 35, but I want to get myself back to where I felt my best. And I'm going to figure out what I was doing at that part of my life and what my body had, and I'm going to replace it. But testosterone is one of the things. So anyway, trust yourself, ladies. Trust your gut. Understand the connection. We are the most intuitive creatures out there. As parents, as wives, as girlfriends, as friends, we just know. We know something's not right, whether it's with ourselves or the people around us. Trust it. Stop trying to decrease the voice, trying to silence it, because that's what we're taught. We're taught to silence our voice. We use these platforms to speak, education. And if you just have questions, you just ask. And if they can't give you an answer, that's not the right person for you. If, at the least, they should be able to send you to somebody that could give you an answer. I hope that helps.
Always.
It was great.
Thank you, Joanna.
You're
You're amazing.
welcome.
Always. We appreciate your info.
Thanks, Joanne.
You're welcome, Crane.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much. I'll
Thanks,
talk to you
everyone.
guys soon.
Thank
Okay.